Welcome to the studio, Bobby Hakkarainen.
Hey, good to see you, Matt.
Pleasure to have you here. You are a therapeutic counselor.
Correct.
And you've gone through many, many changes in your life in terms of your profession. Why don't you take me back to one of your first jobs in construction and tell me what that was like and kind of how you ended up as a counselor and kind of the journey that goes with that.
Oh, sure. Yeah, I mean, it's a family business for sure. I remember, I guess, first time I started doing it was maybe I was in grade 9, something like that. My dad, there was a subdivision in our hometown where we grew up, and my dad was a contract framer. And so you'd pour the basements, and it was on a hillside. So it was like they would have the tall forms, concrete in the front. So he would pour the basement, you had to put forms up. And he said, hey, can you go strip this? We'll go, come this weekend, come work for me, and or with me, I thought. And you can strip this foundation. And I was like, yeah, sure. So I went out there, and then he just dropped me off, showed me how to do it, and then left me there. And I was packing these. You have this sledgehammer, and you got to knock off all these ties, these steel ties, and take out these whaler bars, and these bars you got to pack them out. It was on a hillside, so you had to hike them up along with these 10-foot by 2-foot panels. I think I was grade 9 or 10, so I was 15 years old. But the funny thing about that day was, it was on this hillside, so I could see kind of, it was called Highland Park Drive. So it was a suburb down there, and my buddies had some houses down there. And as I'm working, I could see them on a nice hot summer day, going to get Slurpees. And here I am schlepping these panels up the hill in the hot sun, sweating. So that was kind of my first job, working with him. And I just was a carpenter from that day on till my mid 40s. It stuck. Well, yeah, or I got stuck, I think is even a better term for it. Yeah. So I didn't really make it out of high school. They asked me to leave. So my dad...
There's a story there for sure.
There's a story there for sure.
Why were you asked to leave?
I was the youngest of 3 brothers, and, we messed around, and I guess I was... I had some learning difficulties. Yeah, I knew that right off the bat. It took me a lot to sit in one place for a long time. Mm-hmm. So we'll probably see a bit of that today, as I said here. But, it took me a lot to sit in one place. I couldn't sit still. And, so it was hard for me to learn. And in teaching, they only taught one way, and back then they didn't have the adaptations that they would have for kids now. So I got put to the outside. And when somebody gets put to the outside, they feel different. Mm-hmm. And when they feel different, they'll act different. So
how did that manifest for you? You get kicked out in what, grade 11, 12?
I was in grade 11, yeah. And grade 11 for fighting.
Yeah.
And can't remember the kid's name.
So you think you were fighting just because you were already labeled in that way, or there's other stuff going on? There's a little bit of everything.
A little bit of everything, yeah, for sure. And so I got kicked out, and I went home and suspended, and my dad drove me back to school, and he said, I'm going to go talk to the principal and see what's up. So he drove in there, I waited in the car, and he came back out, and he was like, Bobby, they don't want you here anymore. So I was like, yeah, I know that. So he said, we went home, and then he said, we're going to work.
Wow.
So I went to work with my dad, work construction, and he put me in my apprenticeship. So I did my first 2 years of apprenticeship in carpentry before my buddies graduated high school. Wow. So I was in the workforce from quite a young age.
In some sense, you were, I don't know, use the word unlucky, but unfortunate to be able to finish high school, because finishing high school gives you, in BC, gives you a dogwood diploma, what allows you to go on to do other things. But in another sense, you were also lucky unlucky because you didn't finish, but lucky because you were able to get a head start in making money.
Yeah.
And I mean, you said you were apprenticing, so you probably became a Red Seal carpenter at some point. Yeah. But you also hinted to that you got stuck in this career.
Yeah.
what do you mean by stuck? Like, 'cause of course you could leave at any time.
Yeah.
I know I have a sense of what you mean, but I want you to tell me, like, what do you mean stuck? Why did you feel stuck? Why do you think it took you so long to leave?
Yeah.
Did you like it in the beginning? Did you not?
Yeah. I mean, it was hard work. Got my body prepped, broad shoulders, strong arms, working under the sun, paycheck every 15 days, that's pretty good.
Yeah.
And, you get to work with a lot of other young men. So I made a lot of great friends. But what I didn't know about myself is that I thought that was my ceiling. Mm. I didn't think that there was more for me or I deserved more. And this is my lot in life. Mm. So that would be why I felt stuck. It gave me a lot. I remember I went to Japan to work. I've worked all over BC and Canada and, in some great places, worked with great people. And, it was very beneficial to me. But then I did get stuck in it for sure. And then until really there was a shift in me in construction for me when a friend of mine asked me to work in film with him. Mm-hmm. And so when I went there, it was completely different. So you weren't working with guys that just got out of jail. Nobody wanted to fight you at lunch. Yeah. It was union. And there was women, which was probably the biggest difference, is that I hadn't worked with women before. So, you had to change the way you showed up to work. And so that was a real learning curve for me. And also, but I met some really great men there that kind of mentored me with the way they showed up to work, the way they treated their family. And when I got there, I just had my first child. So I was in 2002, yeah. So to see other men raise their families in certain ways, show up to work in certain ways, budget their money in certain ways. I was like, hey, there's something different going on here. And I was able to make a shift in myself. And I was good at it. I was really good at it.
You doing building sets and stuff?
We started out building sets, but then I went on set. And I was the on-set carpenter. And there was a part of me that was unleashed inside of me that I had never tapped into before. Yeah. And I was happy. Yeah, now that I think about it, I was happy. And I really felt a lot of pride for what I had built. A lot of pride for the way I showed up to work and the way I interacted with everybody. Yeah, it's a hard job, 15 hours. I think one day we worked 18 hours. It was 20 hours days. It tests you, right? How do you show up and how do you interact? How do you problem solve in the 18th hour? And I showed up and I did well. And I got a lot of validation for the way I showed up. So there was something inside me changed about who I was. And I knew that I was more than just a carpenter. So if we talk about getting stuck here, I realized I was unstuck.
So you worked in film constructing sets and such for a while. How do you go from there to becoming a counselor?
Yeah, well, yeah, that was a shift.
That's a left turn.
I always talk to people and go, so what do you do now? And I'm a counselor, and they're like, that's the total opposite. But I guess, I was working in film and I wasn't on set anymore, but I was in a management role, working on different productions in town. But then I just, I found the Brotherhood through events in my life. And when I got in the Brotherhood, I started holding space, or space was held for me, more importantly. And I liked it. I like doing that. And really, COVID came along, to be honest. COVID came along and I saw all these people working at home or abroad. And I was like, what could I do where I could move around and not have to be stuck in one place? I've been in this.
So you were working in film up until COVID, and then that kind of sparked the light bulb. It's like, oh, what's my next thing?
Yeah, I knew that I was tired of my job. I mean, it reflected in my performance at work. My passion for it was waning, and I knew that hey, there needs to be a shift here. Plus, I couldn't do this. I've seen other guys. My father, as one, had to retire early because of how hard construction is on your body. And I knew my body back problems and all that. I had to make a shift. So I started thinking.
And then you mentioned you found what you call the Brotherhood or men's work.
Yeah.
How did men's work come into your orbit?
Yeah. I got separated from my wife in 2019, and I was like, okay, I'm not married anymore. I'm not in this partnership anymore. My life's going to change. And I went on with my life as it was, and I realized the same patterns were still there. None of the patterns has changed. I just wasn't married anymore.
What patterns?
Yeah. Well, I mean, what patterns was, anger. Yeah. A lack of sense of self. I didn't even know the word integrity. I didn't know what the word honesty meant. And those are words that I learned after. And when I got out of that marriage, and those patterns were still playing out. And I had a substance abuse problem, and that continued after my marriage until I realized that that needs to change too.
Oftentimes, substance use and kind of having that aha moment comes with, well, what were you medicating for, or what were you hiding from? What were you protecting against? Well, what was there for you?
Yeah.
That you were, part of you was choosing, which is admirable. There's part of you that was tired of living the life you had. You wanted something better. You wanted something new. You wanted something better for yourself.
Yeah.
What do you think it was you were saying no to and hoping to move on from or move away from?
Well, yeah, like my teacher tells me, and as I listen to him, he's always say, don't ask about the addiction, but ask about the pain. What's driving you to that? And what are you on the run from? And for me, it was, I don't know if I really liked myself. And when a man doesn't have honesty and integrity and character, he's not going to like himself. And I was looking for validation because of a lack of something inside of me. Mm-hmm. So I would fill it. What the substances did for me was made me feel a little bit bigger, a little bit better, and I didn't really know who I was, and so when I don't know who you are, the substances, they give you an identity. Well, this is who I am. I go out Saturday nights and I give her all weekend, and I come in a Monday hungover, and come Thursday we'll start again. That's who I was. Yeah. I was life of the party. I was having people over. So that was an identity. It wasn't me. It's far from who I am now.
In some senses, performing for others, making others feel like you're the life of the party, making fun, like the illusion of fun per se.
Yeah, and performing for myself. Yeah.
Would it be a stretch to say that it's not that you didn't like yourself, but that you hated yourself? Or is there some truth?
Yeah, I mean, hate's not too far from that, I mean, you've got to hate yourself if I did the things that I did. Mm-hmm. Nobody that loves themselves does that to themselves, so you're not too far off at that. I probably did hate myself many times.
I mean, I say that not to kind of jab at you, but more that I think a lot of men can relate to that, myself included.
Yeah.
I think every human has their own self-critical lens, and it could be something small, it could be something big, or it could be the whole thing, right? Mm-hmm. Like, depends on where you are in your life or what you're looking at. So it could be, oh, I hate that about myself, or I dislike that, or the whole package, and you're just sick and tired of where you're at, and you choose something else. And it feels like, I'm sure there are bright spots, of course, because you said you had just become a father.
Yeah. And
I think that probably played a large part into you choosing something different.
Yeah.
Can you talk about what becoming a father shifted in you, what that moment was like when your first child was born, and kind of what it instills in you now and how it inspires you to live?
Yeah, I mean, it's the inspiration for sure. I mean, geez, I love my kids so much. But yeah, I remember when it was a surprise to be a father. And it took my mind a bit to, a day or so to go, whoa, all right, you want to do this? And I went for it. Me and my wife at the time, was unconventionally pregnant, bought a house. Pregnant, bought a house, got married. And it was fun. It was fun being a dad, especially a young dad, because I think I was 26 or 27.
Yeah.
And then we had one shortly after there. I had my son. So I have a daughter and then my son, quite close to each other. And it was a blast. Well, for me, I love being a dad. I always knew I wanted to be a dad. No question about it. But at the start, it can be confusing too. It can be lonely at the start when you become a father right away. What's my role too? Still, where do I fit in? This is who I am now. And in a way, it was good for me because as we talked about before, an identity. What's my identity? I'm a dad now.
Yeah,
I get purpose. Down. I can get down with that. Yeah. Let's go camping. Let's do this. Let's put him in acting. Let's put him in soccer. Let's do this. Let's go to join the pack at school and, be part of it and really be with these kids. And, my wife and I took our kids everywhere we went and lots of outdoor stuff, parks on the weekend. We were a tight family. We did a lot of stuff together and I really identified with it. Oh yeah, really, really identified with it. Still do. Still, yeah. I mean, geez.
I mean, the way you speak about it makes me excited.
Yeah.
For those who don't know, I'm going to be a father in a few months, so I'll have to knock on your door for some help, I'm pretty sure, coming up.
Oh yeah, anytime.
Fast forward to sitting in your first men's group.
Yeah.
So you found yourself to the ARKA Brotherhood, an organization of men's groups. You sit down and you're in that room. What do you experience? What is it? Did you know what you're walking into? What was your felt and lived experience in those first few months in those first meetings?
Yeah. My first captain's right behind you there. And I knew I met somebody. Well, I met Ben on a call. When we was talking before that, what led me to the Brotherhood was, the patterns that hadn't changed. Someone very important in my life told me that these patterns are still here. You may be sober, you may be divorced, but the patterns are still here. Doesn't matter. And so they put me in touch with Ben.
What's the plug through the Evolving Man podcast? Is that the connection?
I don't know how she got it, actually. I think just in a community, Vancouver growth community. So I got on a call with him. It was during COVID, maybe. No, it was right before COVID, 2019 or 2020, March 2020. So I think it just coming on my 6th year anniversary here. And he's like, hey, I want you to do a couple things. And one of them was join the Brotherhood. So I joined, signed up, boom. Went to my first meeting. I remember it was in an apartment and there's a grocery store down below and I had my journal and I was like writing in my journal of how I was feeling about going up and called my dad and kind of like nervous and then went to the elevator and got in an elevator with a bunch of guys and went up and opened the door and there's a couch and he's like, hey, would you like some tea? And I was like, okay, what's happening? Sit down and sit on a couch, a bunch of guys. So I still know to this day. And so started talking and I was like, okay, all right. Yeah, that's cool. And then they some groups do it differently. But in this group, you did your father share on your first day.
Wow. So they asked you to share about your father or?
Yeah. Okay. So tell us a story about your dad. And I was like, God damn it. I don't think I've ever done this, And so I told a story about my dad and I felt a sense of pride. Like, man, it's like, I was like, yeah, my dad is like, he felt like he was like a hero, kind of larger than life guy. And I realized that that's how I had seen him my whole life, kind of. So did that. And I was in that squad for a day.
One day,
because I was on probation because I had went to jail for assault earlier in the year. And so there was one of the members there was a conflict of interest. So I got a phone call and they said, you'll need to, we'll get you into a different squad. I was like, so this is how it goes, eh?
Okay.
And all to say that they did that to protect the group.
Yeah, of course.
Like they have to create safety there. I mean, you got to have a safe group. And it was my first day, so it was okay.
Can't gloss over that. So you mentioned previously that anger was one of the things that you wanted to shift and wanted to change, and that was kind of frontal in your face. Case in point, you had been in jail for assault. So that was something that was huge that you wanted to change and work on. I'm guessing that's one of the reasons you joined a men's group.
Well, yeah, it was. I did some anger management before that.
Mm-hmm.
Shout out to Moose Anger Management. But I did a couple back-to-back courses in there and took a look at it. But anger's with me still to this day. Mm-hmm. It hasn't gone anywhere, and I don't want it to go anywhere.
Yeah,
I love it.
Of course not.
Of all my emotions, I love that one of the most because it's the fire under my ass. It gets me going. It drove me to make changes in my life. But what's changed is my relationship with anger. I'm not scared of it, and I know when it's coming on. I know when it's here, and I know when it's not coming from here. If my anger comes from here or down in here, I know I'm in the right place.
So your relationship to anger has changed. Can you explain more, like what you mean by that? Because you're not assaulting guys anymore.
I'm not assaulting guys.
But you still have anger. So a lot of people be like, okay, what does a healthy relationship with anger look like?
Yeah.
And how did you shift it? Because previously I think a lot of men, I can relate to this for sure. A lot of men can relate to this where you feel overcome and you're feeling reactive.
Yeah.
Maybe anger might even be the wrong word. Rage is one I can relate to. So feeling full of rage. How are you able to rewire and shift your reactivity to your anger into something more positive?
Yeah.
What does that look like?
Well, it takes time for sure. And the first thing is to own it. I got anger.
It's not going anywhere.
You got it. And we all do. Yeah. Hopefully every person has anger.
It's a useful tool for setting boundaries. Yeah.
And it makes them whole, and it's so for me, the relationship was owning it, really knowing I have it and letting it be seen. Someone had said to me, I can't remember who said it, but they said they want to find the tips of the flames. They're flames. Anger being flames, being that fire element. You want to find the tips of them. Mm-hmm. Then because a lot of people, their relationship with anger, they're scared of their anger because they don't know how big it's going to get because they've never been to the tip of it. So, do we have spaces where we can explore our anger? And I was lucky enough to come across those spaces where I can see how big my anger can get. So that was the first thing. And I know that it wouldn't kill anybody.
Yeah.
I wasn't gonna, that I knew that this is where it taps out. And that made me feel a little bit better.
What was your anger actually saying to you in those moments? Like when you...
Fuck off. Get away from me. Don't see me. I don't want you to see me. Back off. I don't want to connect with you. This is fucking scary. And that came out pretty easy because, I can feel it. It's just like that fear of you're gonna get hurt. Don't hurt me. Don't see me. So your anger is there. So you don't want to be seen. You don't want to be hurt. Okay. Boom. Anger. That'll keep them away. Either through its voice, with behavior. Shutting down is anger also, right? There's a lot of stuff in there. The different ways to attack it. For me, it was always confrontational. Back off. It changed. It's changed a little bit over the years, especially in relationship. My anger I use, it comes out as shutting down. So I will not let you access me. And
so more like a flavor of resentment.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. It's just, it's another tool.
Yeah.
That doesn't, but I notice it when it comes up. But to be completely honest here, the ways that it comes out sneakily that's one way. Yeah.
Why do you think sharing about your father in that first meeting, or for any man to share about their father when they sit down in a men's group, is helpful?
Well, I mean, Dad's a big part of all of our lives, regardless if he was,
you had a father,
he was there or not.
Yeah. It's very true. If you didn't have a dad, it left some sort of imprint, or if you didn't have a dad and you had a father figure, that left some sort of imprint.
Yeah.
So for you in particular, you mentioned you idolized him in some way. He had some big place in your mind, in your heart.
Yeah.
Sharing about your dad and your relationship to him, what else did you learn and uncover about yourself?
Yeah.
Not necessarily about your dad.
Oh, I'm a lot like him. Yeah.
Did you always know you were a lot like him?
Handsome guy. But, he's gregarious. He's social.
Yeah.
He's strong. He's got strong will. He's got a strong mind. He's got lots of fire. But he can also, I learned a lot about myself through those shares, and to see myself as a father too, see how I show up, strict, regimentated, unwilling to bend, not wanting to be wrong, all those things. Yeah. And also always having to be at the top, always having to be in charge. For me, I'm not going to speak for him because I've never really been inside his mind. We have a good relationship now. But for me, I always wanted to be in charge as he did. But for me, it was because it was the fear I had of not being in charge. If I was not in charge, I was scared.
Yeah. Did you not have a good relationship with him for a period of time?
Well, yeah. I mean, it was... when I was young, it was the 80s. Things were tough. We lived on a ranch, and there wasn't a lot of money. And when there's not a lot of money, and there's a long list of things to do.
Yeah.
You got 3 boys.
Stressed.
Yeah. And so any man gets stressed. There's an indicator of getting you into your anger, right? And he did what he thought was right. For the time that he was doing it.
Yeah. How did you rebuild your relationship with him?
Communication.
And was that something you took initiative in, or something that he did?
Yeah. So my dad and I'm going to include my mom in this too. Is that all right?
Yeah.
Yeah. So, I realized, as I got on this path that, hey, there's some things that I do in life that are connected to something way back there, and the way that I show up. And I was kind of becoming more of aware of this. And my parents were, when I had kids, they were the ultimate grandparents and still are. I mean, nobody could hold a candle to them the way they show up for my kids. And they just great. And I was like, what the fuck? Where were you when
for me?
Yeah, for me. What are you doing this now? What are these road trips and snuggling? And, not that they didn't snuggle me, but, and so it was different. And so the relationship, I accepted the way they were, because the way they were showing up now in my relationship when I had kids and they'd be over and doing all these things, really supporting me. But then as I get further and further into myself and inner work and looking within and seeing what's happening, why do I show up like this? Why am I like this? Why am I like that? Asking myself these questions, it kept coming down to my youth and to my relationship with my parents. And it was in COVID, and I remember just asking them, I said, hey, I want an apology.
How'd that go over?
Yeah, right. That's what they said.
Yeah.
I said, what do you mean? That's the way it was back then.
Yeah.
That's the way we did things. And I said, well, it's wrong. And they're like, well, I don't care. So it was like, nothing was, and it was not happening. And I'll tell you what, over the next 8 months, between handwritten letters, emails, FaceTimes, phone calls, back and forth, and screaming and yelling sometimes, What I finally learned was that I didn't need an apology from them. Because me and them, the way they show up in my life now, and I can talk to them and they hold my kids, and I'm an adult now, and we have an adult relationship, caring about the same people. Yeah. I don't need the 65-year-old doesn't need to give this 40-year-old an apology. Yeah. There was an 8-year-old boy inside me that needed an apology from 2 30-year-olds.
Yeah. That makes sense.
And that's where we started to have a real conversation. When I asked them and I said, hey, what was it like? What was it like raising 3 boys in the 80s when you had 18% interest on your house? No work, trying to farm and sell cattle. What was that like? And then I was able to get inside them and see why they showed up the way they did. And then I was able to see how much they loved me, how hard they worked for me and my brothers. And I was able to have compassion for them. And then we softened, and they started asking questions about how it was for me. And then one day, I came back from a breathwork retreat, and I'm all cracked open. Sit on my couch. I remember this day, it was spring day, sun shining through my living room window. And, I got those rattan blinds and, scattered on me. I still remember, and my phone rang, and it was my mom. And she said, hey, I've been thinking, Bob, I just want to say sorry. It was wrong. I'm sorry for the way I treated you. And that meant a lot to me. And we had a good cry on the phone. And, I feel it right now for sure. And my dad, maybe a week later, said what he could say.
Yeah.
And he, there was forgiveness there. And I took what he said because, he went as far as he could. And that was enough for me. And, I wanted a relationship. I love my parents, but I just don't want the kind of relationship we had as adults. I want it to be whole.
Yeah.
I wanted to feel them. I want them to know how I felt and how I feel. And I love them so much. I love my parents. Yeah. And if you go to my dad, it's, I've done many father shares and, there's still always something in there. But the love is getting more and more and more and more because of the forgiveness. You can't love without the forgiveness. You can't love somebody and still hold something in there, some resentment. It's not going to happen. You won't be able to give it all. And I want to give everything in life.
It's beautiful, Bobby.
Yeah, it was.
That story you shared it's not uncommon in a men's group, but I'd say it's uncommon for the general population. There's many, many, many people who struggle with their relationship with their parents as adults. And like you mentioned, especially if they felt like they had a harder childhood or had things that they had to deal with, there's a sense of that young child still being owed an apology or wanting something that they didn't get as a child. And I think you very eloquently and beautifully illustrated, honestly, how healing your own relationship with maybe what little boy Bobby wanted as a child and wanted to get. And in some sense, were able to, you were lucky, you're actually able to get some of that from your parents. Not everyone is able to get there.
Yeah, for sure.
A lot of people don't get there, actually. But you're able to also shift some of your internal narrative and internal maybe resentment or holding on to something that you needed to get from them. And you actually started becoming curious of your parents and their lives and kind of let go of needing something. And it's ironic that as soon as you let go of that and you softened, well, you ended up getting it. You ended up getting softness from them and them being curious about your experience and even an apology.
Yeah.
I mean, that's That's beautiful. It's
Yeah.
literally, I'm sure you've noticed how your relationship with your parents in that moment changed.
Yeah.
Like, not that it wasn't good, but like something shifted.
Yeah. Yeah. And it's still shifting. Yeah. Yeah. It is still shifting. As they grow in age, you know, my place in the family, my place with my parents shifts also. You know, they're a long ways away yet, but you know, you have to, and with how I think it's been easier to step into that role, and it'll be deeper and deeper as they age, where I have to take more responsibility. But to have that other stuff cleared out of the way so I can move in there without the resentment and more love.
Yeah, and feel close and
Yeah.
and have the relationship you want with your parents.
Yeah, totally.
Yeah. Let's circle back to sitting in circle. So you mentioned how in your very first meeting, you sat down, you did your father share, and that kind of precipitated a lot of what we just talked about, obviously further down the line. But your next group that you joined, 'cause you got kicked out of that one or left that one. Your next group and what arrived while sitting in men's group over the next few years, because you've been in the Brotherhood for 6 years now. What else kind of sprouted, surprised you, came out of left field?
Yeah.
What was that experience?
Yeah, it was good. I got into with a couple great captains. There was 2 captains in that squad, and they knew what they were doing.
So the captains are just our regular men who are just leading the group facilitating?
Yeah. So they're the 2 facilitators, 2 head facilitators. And I think we had a dozen guys or something.
Yeah.
And it was great. We met in somebody's living room, but then it quickly moved to COVID. So we went online.
Yeah.
And so we'd start the meetings with sharing, right? And everybody shares, what's going on in their week. And then there's this process that I saw called the King's Chair.
Okay.
So this King's Chair is when you sit in front of the other men, and the other man, and he sits up there like a king, and he tells the men why he wants to be their king and how he could be their king. Yeah. And then the other men reflect back to him directly, and sometimes from a spot maybe they don't want to, or some people. And anyways, what they say to them is why I see you as a king and why I don't see you as a king. So it can be pretty hard and pretty jarring for somebody to be seen why they're not being seen as a king. They could be things as, I don't see you as a king because you arrive late to every meeting. What king is going to arrive late to a meeting? So things like that, or the way you drive, or the way you interact with people, or you go from job to job, et cetera, et cetera. So I thought this was very powerful. And so after about 3 months in the squad, I wanted to share my story and, my whole life story.
So you didn't do that King Chair thing?
I didn't do that King's Chair that day, but but I witnessed it and I saw how powerful it was. Yeah. And it can be, and I saw what the effect it had on the men. And it could be very jarring. It's like sometimes can be a punch in the gut.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, it's not an easy process. And so I asked my captain, I said, hey, I want to share a bit of my life. I want the guys to know where I came from, what I had to go through.
I love it. We're actually doing this in my group right now.
Yeah.
We kind of dubbed it the origin story. That's what I called it.
Perfect.
Because in my group, we're a group of men who've been together for a long time, most of us around 8 years. And we realized, we know each other very well, but there's still something special about a man standing up and, like you said, sharing his story. And for each man, it can kind of take a different turn, but usually they're sharing turning points or big things that happened in their life that maybe the rest of the group don't know. And so I've actually really been enjoying doing that with my men's group right now, because I am kind of learning a little bit new about each guy too.
Yeah.
So sorry, continue.
Yeah, no, that's good. I'll just steal that from you. So I was doing my origin story. And I wanted the men to know, because I was sharing what was going on for me week to week at work. And I was like, this is fucking bullshit. I want them to know who I am.
Yeah.
And that was important to me. And so I think my share took about an hour and a half, at least, maybe 2 hours, maybe the whole meeting.
Yeah.
And so it was on Zoom. And it was recorded, this one. And I shared my whole story. I think I probably broke down crying at some point as I went through it. A lot of shame, a lot of wins, a lot of losses, a lot of,
You're sharing about your divorce, sharing about the assault, sharing about everything.
You live for 45 years, you're going to experience some stuff.
Yeah.
And that was new in the Brotherhood. I didn't know what to make of it.
Yeah.
And especially on Zoom, we were a little bit more separated. But after the meeting, they didn't do my king's chair. So I was kind of upset about that. And so I asked my captain of the facilitator, I said, hey, can I get a copy of the meeting? I'd like to watch it. He's like, yeah, sure. So he sent it to me and I watched it. And it was emotional watching it. But the one thing about it was when you record on Zoom and you go into, we have a mid-break in our meetings about halfway through. So, but what happens on Zoom, they'll record breakout rooms. So on our break, when everybody went, the leadership team
had their own room
and they talked what was going on.
Everyone was new to Zoom and they didn't know they were recording.
Yeah. So, but for me, when I watched it, I didn't know this.
Okay, yeah.
So here I see 3 men that are my leaders, who I put a lot of faith and trust in. So, and one of the reasons why I'm in men's work is my relationship with trust with men. Are they gonna fuck me over? Yeah. Or am I safe here? Can I be myself here and be accepted? So all of a sudden the screen goes blank and it goes into this breakout room. And then there's 3 guys and they didn't know I'd ever see this. And I saw those 3 men hold me and what I was going through that day in my life. And they said, there's no way we're giving him a king's chair because Bobby thinks that he needs to be taken to the woodshed for the life he's lived. And those men held me and they knew I didn't deserve that. They knew I needed love, not more pain. And to see that the next day and then see the rest of the meeting and how they showed up, they didn't know that I knew that. But to know that these men behind closed doors, how much they cared for a man they just met 3 months ago.
Wow.
And from that day, they say you join the Brotherhood twice. First time you fill out your subscription, send in your credit card and pay. And the second time is when you become vulnerable or something happens or something gets triggered. It's usually about 3 months. And then this is too much for me. I don't want to be seen or whatever. And you leave. For me, it was, I knew that I had been supported and loved. And then from that day, I joined again. I doubled down and really committed to this thing.
It's the moment that you felt like you had brothers that had your back, that you were accepted, that you were cared for, and that it was okay to share essentially your life story, your origin story.
Yeah.
All the rough edges.
Yeah.
All the scary shit, all the stuff that you maybe don't want to be judged for and be accepted.
All the darkness. All the darkness I gave, and these 12 men, showed up the next week with love and challenge.
Challenge to be
a better man, to be a better human, to be a better father, to be a better employee, to be a better part of your community. And not trying to play soft with me because I'd had this darkness, but still showing up just like I'm a regular guy. I'm not special. Yeah. They've got those stories too. And that's what made it, made me really land in that squad. And be safe and be like, okay. And then encourage other guys to start pulling stuff out of them or encouraging them to when they're ready to explore what's inside of them.
Yeah. You mentioned men challenging you to be a better man. Yeah. A lot of men have been modeled challenging other men in a way that's not from the heart. and not in their best interest, but usually in like a form of like reprimand, or a form of shame, in a form of cancel culture. How was your experience in feeling that challenge? And can you describe how there is that nuanced difference between challenging a man in the right way and how it's actually received? Because I see, so often we see men challenged in the wrong way, maybe not just by other men, but by society, I'd actually argue. And it doesn't really have the effect that maybe people want to have.
Yeah. Well, I'd say the way that I was challenged and taught, and I mean, we don't get things right all the time.
No, of course not.
Guys make mistakes all the time. But when it's done right, who they're not challenging is a victim. So when they challenge them in a way where they're trying to uplift the guy. They say, hey, they don't make him a victim. They say, hey, encouraging him, pulling him forward, lifting him up, and saying, hey, I see this part in you. You may not see it, but anybody else in this room see that part? Oh yeah, Jim, Tommy, Tom, Dick, and Harry, they all see that part. And they tell him that they see that part. Yeah. He's not seeing it. And they challenge him and say, okay, so there is this part in you that we see that you don't see. And we want you to see that part. The part you bring here, bring that into your house. Bring that to your wife. Bring back that to your child that has learning disabilities. Whatever it is. That part needs to go there, and to encourage him that he's not a victim, that he's not. He can't find that part.
It's to see the best in a man.
Yeah.
And to hold him up and support him to be that.
Yeah. And when you keep showing up week after week after week, month after month, year after year with these guys, they're going to see those parts.
Yeah. That process you mentioned, we call it the King's Chair. We can kind of give that an ode to King, Warrior, Magician, Lover. Archetypes work. And that process can really be done with any prompts. But yeah, we use the idea of the king. You could use any words really, but it's like the first half of the process, the man, he talks about in the ways in which he thinks he is, he's the shit or doing a good job, and then he sits down. And the group of the men, based on that kind of speech, but also just how they know him and how they feel him, they're either like, yeah, or nah. And they'll say very explicit things that they know about that man, about
We're
how
not
they feel.
buying it.
Exactly. It's like, could be anything extremely personal. Like, you don't do this. You're lazy. You don't show up. I don't trust you. Or obviously there's the bright side too. So you'll finish off with, oh, I do see you as a king, or you can even say, I do see you as a good man. You could use any kind of wording you'd like, and so it's an extremely intense process where, one, I've always found that you have to be ready to do it. It's activating. I mean, the first time I did it, sitting in front of 12 guys, and essentially choosing to have them, that's the important piece, choosing to have them judge you is terrifying. And you'd be surprised. You sit 12 guys who don't know each other in a room, they actually can tell a lot about a man without knowing him.
Yeah.
Just energetically. Yeah. Just based on vibes.
Yeah.
When they do know you, it goes even deeper. Yeah. And I've done this process, I want to say probably 6-7 times now, obviously about once a year. And how I felt in the chair receiving feedback, both good and bad, has shifted every single time. I'd say now I feel just very comfortable. I don't feel like hot flashes and sweating like I did the first 3 times, where I'm like feeling very nervous and afraid for what the men might see in me, that they obviously do, but I'm afraid that they would actually say it.
Yeah.
And it's actually kind of a relief when they even do say the negative things. It's like, oh, okay, well, they see it. I guess they've known all along.
Yeah. I ain't hiding nothing.
Exactly. It's like, okay. And then like, it's kind of freeing. You're like, okay, that's out of the bag. And now I can get to work on shifting it if I want.
Yeah.
But it's also so heartwarming, but also like invigorating to be seen and to be loved, to be acknowledged for the ways in which every individual person has like their gifts.
And that's, that's what they'd say the greatest trauma in the world is not being seen. So, when we see kids misbehaving, they're just looking to be seen. So when we look at this process, it's like, even if it's hard, you still feel connected to the guys because you're being seen.
Another interesting observation I've had of men sitting in this process is some men find it far more difficult to receive the positive feedback than they do the negative, which I found fascinating. The first time I heard that from a man, I was like, what?
Yeah,
come on. Because it's the opposite of my experience. Like my experience, like, give me all the love. I can take all that all day.
Yeah.
But like the bad stuff was hard to hear. So when I heard that it had flipped for another guy in my group, I was like, how does that mean? But the click became, this man had a dynamic in his own mind where he was so hard on himself that he had a pattern of rejecting all positive comments, whether from himself or from other people, and he couldn't even let them in. And so it's such a beautiful process because it gives in so many different ways. It can give in a way in which where you can get this realization. It's like, oh, I don't let in positivity. I don't let in self-love. I don't let in compliments. I don't let in that. And that can lead to its whole slew of changes and realizations too, usually for the positive.
And there's even a third side to that process also. It's the people giving the feedback.
Absolutely.
It's going to be hard. I'm about to say something to this guy. I've never really told the truth. How I feel to a man. And that can be,
I'm afraid to say something that I know to be true, but I'm afraid to hurt him.
Or I'm afraid to not be liked.
That too.
Yeah. So it's all the way, everybody that's sitting in that room is feeling something.
Yeah, it's grist for the mill. I mean, that's really what a lot of men's work is. It's like men share about their lives, but there's all this material that's there to give you perspective on who you are and then make your life what you want, right?
Yeah. And it's funny because like it's not all, like you said, not all of it lands, but then there's one and it's like, okay, you got me. And that's the one that's really, okay, that's something I got to look at. That's not solved. That's still something that, if it activates you, there's some work to be done.
Yeah.
If you want.
Yeah. There's another principle that we often speak to whenever we do activities or processes like this. People will always have their judgments of you and what they think is going on, or they're like, you are like this. And the words you used is the concept that we talk about. So if it doesn't land. And that's a very important one because there are also personalities who will make everything land that probably shouldn't. Or they're like not sure, like this person said that, is that actually true? And they're not connected to maybe their truth body of like, oh, okay. So when you sit in that chair as a man and you have all these guys saying shit to you, and this is great practice for everyday life too. If somebody says something and you're like, no, that's not really true for me. Because trust me, even if a guy says something that you don't want to be true, it'll hurt. You're like, oh, no, that's not true. Yeah, you'll feel it. So you'll know. So you'll have your own sense of the words coming at you, or you hopefully do. Have a sense of the words coming at you and be like, okay, that's something that's being illuminated for me right now. That's something I can look at. And all the other stuff, I can let it go. Dodge that arrow. Dodge that bullet.
We only got so much time on this planet to work on everything.
Somebody might say something to you that's like very accusatory and you're like, that doesn't really land. So then just let it go. So we're kind of getting into the weeds here in terms of some of the processes and stuff that we do inside group. Of course, the meat and potatoes of our groups are always just sharing about our lives, but we get excited when we do other processes that bring stuff up. And this has to do with often what's known as shadow work. Can you speak a little to shadow work?
Yeah, sure. Yeah, I mean, our founder, Phil T. Misselberger, has spent a majority of his life studying this. And I'm grateful enough to be one of his students and be in a room with him while he facilitates groups looking at their ego and their shadow. And such an honor to be able to do that. And he's been at it for a long time, and there's a long lineage of teachers before him that he studied from. And why I keep going back, it's a 10-week course. I think it's been mentioned before. It's a conscious relationship training. And it's a 10-week course that runs twice a year. I think maybe I've done it 10 or 11 times.
Wow.
So we're going on it for a while. And I love it because I think they would call it like satsang, a place you can go and you can work on yourself in a community, because we can listen to all the podcasts we want. We can read all the self-help books, and you will only get so far until you are in community and there's people that can reflect back what they see. That's one thing about our groups, is that we're just mirrors for each other. And especially in this, the shadow work realm, is we really amp that up, where we start to really expose ourselves and what we're seeing in the mirrors in others. So putting ourselves in positions where we can get activated and triggered, and you can see like what you were talking about, like in the king's chair, or those chairs where one of those hurt, one of those stung, right? So it means something. That's the trigger. So when we're in community and we have purpose of what we're looking at, when we get a trigger, here we go. We can also turn that and call that a gift. Okay, I got a little trigger here. You want to do some shadow work? Do I want to see what this is about? Right? So if that's about jealousy, we can turn into that jealousy a bit more, turn the dial up, okay, what's that feeling? Even if we can't locate the jealousy, we can say, that person, it pisses me off when that person's with that person. Or here, let's give an example. I'm mad at, let's make up a name, Tony over here.
Fucking Tony.
Fucking Tony. Why are you mad at Tony? Look at the way he dresses. He comes to class all the time. He's got the tie on and his suit and his shoes. You're like, okay, what's going on? I think he's a putz banker. Okay. And then we go a little bit deeper. What about him? And we can kind of unravel that maybe there's some jealousy underneath there. What about him triggers you? And we can get to the point where, Tony's got money. Tony's successful. So this is a part inside of you that you reject in yourself, that there's a part of you that wants to be successful, wants to be dressed like that and have a nice car, but you didn't. You stayed here in this other career, became a dad, whatever, worked in, community, school teacher, whatever it is. And, but you have to acknowledge that not that you just don't like him the way he dresses, but what's underneath there. And that shadow is your jealousy. It's because that's what you wanted. So in this community, we can kind of get to that. And once we notice it, we notice the jealousy, then what we can do is we can own that jealousy and say, hey, yeah, there's jealousy in me. And then how does that come out? Where does that come out? And say that I am jealous. There is maybe a part of you, but fully own it. I am jealous when I am jealous this time and here and there, and notice it. And then at some point, we can drop it.
Mm-hmm. In some sense, whether it's conscious relationships training or men's groups, it's almost like a training ground. It's like a very specific container to pay attention to what you would otherwise experience in everyday life. Yeah. Like, because everyone's walking around the world, you're getting pissed off at the person who cut you off in the line, you're feeling sad about a friend who didn't text you back. It could be anything, right? Everyday life is full of it. It's called being a human. And so being able to be in a men's group or in CRT, it's the difference and delineation between knowledge and wisdom. So knowledge is knowing what to do. Wisdom is the practice of putting it into practice. Yeah. The experience of putting it into practice. And you actually get to try it out and put it on. And that way, so when you go back to the rest of your life. Hopefully the next time someone cuts you off and you're like, oh, I don't want to react that way. You're like, okay, I can do something different. Or you understand yourself in a better way. You're like, okay, now I can shift and change what I want to do.
Yeah. It is also accepting yourself. Accept your anger. Accept I'm angry. Okay. Accept that in me. I got rage in me. I accept that. I accept that there's jealousy in me. But if we don't accept it and we push it away somewhere, talk about keeping it in the shadows, shadow work, right? We're taking these emotions that are inside of us and we're burying them down here, out of the dark or in the dark. And then we wonder why out of the blue we lose it, or we snap, or we're sad, or we can't get out of bed. We're pressing those feelings down, pushing them down, depressing our feelings. And we wonder why we're depressed and we can't get out of bed. So it's bringing, like what you're talking, it's like noticing when we're acting like something and having the courage to dig a little bit deeper. Why do I show up like this? What is underneath? We can do this all day long. You, and you. All your fault.
Yeah.
And we'll just stay there forever and never grow, never really have true connection because it's everybody's fault. Or we can kind of uncover some of this stuff and say, hey, welcome to the party here. This is what makes me whole. Like you said, this is what makes you human, having all these pieces of us and accepting them. They don't have to run the show, but we know when it's here.
You just named a magic ingredient in the potion. And that magic ingredient is action. It's actually taking ownership and ownership of your own life and taking action. I find too often in self-development circles, including in men's work and people who get overly attached and involved in self-work. I'm curious your perspective on this, by the way. I'm just kind of rambling here. But you can get stuck in ruminating on your own problems and your own ideas and not go anywhere. You're like, it's almost like a cycle of always seeing negative. It's a cycle of always thinking you have a problem to work on. So it's like the balance of introspection, but introspection without action or change or doing something about it. In some sense, I think can probably be even more harmful. It's like you're constantly focusing on all of the issues and problems and only talking about it and maybe
the awareness of it, but what's beyond that?
Exactly.
Yeah.
So can you speak to, especially you as a counselor?
Yeah. For
a long time, I think talk therapy's got a bad rap nowadays in society, and not necessarily always fairly so, because it's just talk. And talk is good. It's helpful because it allows you to express and get things off your chest and free things into the world. Yeah. But it's only part of the puzzle. Yeah. So can you speak to, at least in your profession and your experience, after the expressive piece and sharing what's going on, which like in a men's group, you share about your life and you share about your problems. Okay, so once you've done that, does that the magic pill? No, there's more. So can you speak to the more?
Yeah, the more, that's the noticing, right? That's like bringing the awareness to it. So I've got it here now. What are you going to do with it? Mm-hmm. And, that's the ownership of it. Counseling is a lot different than men's.
Of course.
Counseling and men's work are not the same thing. CRT is not men's work either. But there is something that weaves all those together. And the thread that runs through there is, having awareness of who we are. Right. And it's how much do I want to turn into this? A lot of folks, they can't turn into it because it's too scary and they're just not ready. And that's okay. And we've got to meet them where they are. And that's enough. Yeah. Even with guys in my men's group, it's like, it's okay. I'll see you there. This is where you stop, and that's okay. I'll come walk to you and meet you there. And we won't, I'm just going to speak for a little bit more here, but like that I've always felt in men's work with everything, it's based on safety and attunement. And if I blow past this guy's, you mentioned boundaries before, if I blow past this guy's boundaries and I take him somewhere he doesn't want to go.
Mm-hmm. I'm forcing him to action, for example.
All I'm doing is replaying the same thing, let's just say his father did.
Yeah.
And then what kind of relationship do I got with him or her? You know, but I'll meet you there and let's go there together. I'll let you know that, you know, you're not walking alone in these next steps if you don't want to. And then there's that attunement and there's that trust that's being built, and that can take months. It's these other and in the men's group, it takes months. Other trainings or retreats, it's accelerated because people know what they come in to expect, that they're going to get pushed a bit harder. Mm-hmm. And, you know, but there could be safety in that too. You know, taking a man or a woman from awareness to ownership can be a really big step. Yeah. You know, because with ownership comes a lot of other feelings. The shame, you know, shame can be debilitating, you know, for a lot of people. So you gotta be careful how far we want to take people and how quick we want to take people. And then we got to stop and take a look at ourselves. Yeah. Why do I need that person to get here? They said no, but you want to take them somewhere they don't want to go. Yeah. Why? What's in it for you, man? Now who needs to go talk to somebody? Yeah. Right? And we find that a lot and I'm guilty of it too. You know, I want things for people because I love people so big. You know, I want people to succeed. I want people to get beyond what it is. And I got to check myself and I got to say, hey man, like, slow down.
Meet them where they're at.
Meet them where they're at.
And I think that was probably the best piece you said. I think that's the best first piece of action anyone can take. And I think, again, hard to get to for everyone is the acceptance piece. That's the first step. Yeah. So it's like first name and acknowledge and show what's there. Step one, accept. And if you're in a world of hurt or if you're in a situation that's hard, it might be near impossible to accept. Yeah. Or it might, for some people that might take a day. For some people that might take months, years, maybe not even ever actually, depending on your age. So I'm glad you mentioned that. It's like, yeah, too often we want things for others at a pace that they're not ready for. Yeah. And you have to meet them where they are. Yeah. And oftentimes actually meeting them where they are can actually be part of the unlock. Yeah. Too.
Well, those guys on that break in that Zoom room met me where I was.
Exactly.
They didn't take me further than I could go. You know, and what did that do for me? I'm here fucking 5 years later, 6 years later, because they stopped, slowed down, and took care of me.
Bobby, what kind of leader are you? And you lead a men's group. You've led your group for how long now?
4 years, I guess. Yeah.
Okay, that's a while. Yeah. What kind of leader are you? Let's start there.
Yeah. It's good. I don't know. I can be, it depends on the day. To be completely honest. I think I'm pretty like open. Like I don't, like if I come in and I like come into the group and some days I don't want to be there. Yeah. Some days I'll say that. Say, hey guys, I don't want to be here today. I just really would rather be on the couch watching Canucks play, you know, but I'm here. So I guess as I say that, I would say that I'm an honest leader. I lead by example. So I won't go, I'll be the first guy out of the foxhole, to use that old cliche, and kind of won't go anywhere the men won't. I'll go anywhere the men have gone, and I'll probably go first. And that's that. But I'm switching, you know, every day I'm trying to look at my leadership, you know, and where can I improve? Where can I settle? And the longer I do this, I feel that I'm moving from the front to the back more. And what I want now for the men and for everybody in my life, even as a father too. And this may even parallel my role as a parent, as now my kids are now in the workforce. they're asking different things from me. I'm moving to the back as a parent and leading from the back. Encouragement, less out front knocking doors down for them. More like, hey, you got this, try this, do that. And I think maybe my leadership style's moving in that way too. It's maturing. It's maturing. I got a long ways to go, not to be too hard on myself, but I can see like that, I want it. I love leading, but I see in myself it's like there's a David underneath there, and just kind of chiseling away the leader that I am underneath, and I'm not in a big rush or be hard on myself. But I think the biggest thing for me is I show up, I work hard. I'm there at the start and I'm there at the end. And that's the core of it, is just being there.
If I was to describe you as a leader,
yeah,
if I had to choose 3 characteristics or words, I think the first characteristic I would use would be you're very charismatic.
Okay.
You're excitable. You're passionate. You're very passionate.
Yeah, I'd see that. Yeah.
And you have the ability to inspire people.
Yeah.
Just by being who you are. The second word I would have is the word intensity.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
There's like a fullness in who you are and your experience and how you lead.
Yeah.
It's like energy. It's like potent. I think it kind of goes hand in hand with charisma. And then the third and final word, which I think is your biggest superpower, is your heart.
Yeah.
How much you give a damn, how much you love, and how much you care.
Yeah.
So that's how I describe you as leader.
Matt.
Well,
thanks for seeing me.
Of course.
Yeah, when I think of that, I think of the question you asked me, how did you go from being a carpenter into being a counselor? We have a code, and it says you want to balance passion, which I have a lot of, with compassion.
Yeah.
And my co-captain at one time said, "You've got a lot of passion, buddy, but your compassion is lacking." And
you've got a flamethrower, but
yeah. And I took it to heart. And that was a hard thing to hear. That's one of those things that went in me, right?
Yeah.
So it led me on this path of being a counselor, because I did something called compassion inquiry, and it's a modality of counseling. And I worked with Gabor Mate for over a year, and it brought me compassion into my life. And you're right. I like the balance that I have as a leader. So that passion and love, that passion and compassion. Yeah, that's what I like. And I like both of them. And I can go to the extreme in a lot of things. And I like that about myself.
Yeah.
I accept that about myself. I'm not trying to change it or hide it. And it's not for everybody. But it's for me. I like it.
For all of our listeners listening right now, there might be there's women and men. If you were to say something, if they're in their mind, they're like, oh, I wonder if a men's group is good for my husband, my boyfriend, my brother, or if it's a man listening, I was like, oh, wonder if I'd get anything out of this. What would you say to those people?
Wondering if they'd get anything out of it. I think everybody gets something different out of it. Like, it's not like you're going to get this out of it, because we're all different. Every man's different, and we all come from different places, different backgrounds, different religious upbringings, different genders, different ages. So what they will get out of it is there's a real sense of being alone that men have. And being in a brotherhood and being in a men's group can really dull that pain. And, you consistently show up to something starts to change inside of you, the way your brain works. I wouldn't have been a counselor if I didn't go to men's work and this meeting for 3 hours every week. Matt, I feel I could do anything I want in this world. I could do anything I want because I've been going to men's group day after day, week after week, month after month, year after year, showing up when I didn't want to, showing up when it hurt, showing up when I was in pain, showing up when I was angry. And the belief that I have in myself, the belief that I have in Bobby Hakkarainen, that he can do it, that he's done it. And there's just the evidence is building higher and higher and higher and higher. And that's what men's work's given me, is just evidence and evidence and evidence that I can do it. I can get through problems, and it's not going to a problem's not going to knock me all the way down. Sometimes I look at if you look at this staircase and you go up it, and if something happens and you fall all the way down to the bottom, what we do in men's work is we start putting landings in.
Yeah.
And we don't fall down all the way anymore. We just go to that next landing where we made that growth spurt, where those guys saw us and they told us who we were and we believed in ourselves, that we're only going down there now. We're not going all the way to the bottom anymore.
You've fallen 1 or 2 steps, and at the same time, you're actually envisioning and building the next 10 floors.
100%, yeah. So those a few things they got to, and fun. I mean, geez, I have fun with my guys, man. We have fun with each other, and there's brotherhood there, and there's fun, and there's community, and you're gonna get whatever you want, what you need out of it. I couldn't tell to a guy that I didn't know what he's gonna get out of it. I'm gonna say he's gonna get support and he's gonna get consistency.
Yeah.
You're gonna get those things, but I don't know what you're actually gonna get. I remember I had a guy in my squad. I couldn't stand him. Couldn't. As soon as I was in a good mood. As soon as he walked in the door, I just switched. I was like, here's this fucking guy again.
Yeah.
Well, he's going to share about the same fucking egotistical shit today. But what he taught me is a lot. What I got out of him was a reflection. He mirrored back into me all the things that I didn't like about myself, and that I chose to start to take a look at. And he never left. And I told him this, and he supported me in my growth. He didn't run away from me.
I'd actually say, sitting in my men's group, I've gained and learned more, not through sharing actually, or getting feedback or anything but just sitting and listening.
Yeah.
The number of times a man shared something that he's dealing with or that's going on in his life, or even just remotely that I can relate to. I'm just like, oh yeah.
Yeah.
I can see myself in that man. I can relate to him in some way. And in some sense, it's it's relieving.
Yeah.
It's relieving to feel 2 things. One, that, that's not something that I just deal with alone, and someone else can relate to me and they can maybe even help me. They have some perspective that could support me. But also if I've been through that, I'm like, oh, I can help that guy. And there's something I love helping others, being able to help another guy or share your own experiences. I fucking love it.
And it can be healing.
Absolutely.
Totally. Yeah. I'm never concerned when I got a guy that doesn't talk in group. It's like,
he's getting something.
He's getting something.
Yeah.
He's coming back.
Yeah.
He's getting something. He's just that kind of guy. He just doesn't want to talk. So there's no need to get up and have a TED talk.
Yeah.
It's some guys, that's what they're about. Some guys, they just want to listen and support. And yeah.
Yeah. There's too many men in the world that, even if they're surrounded by loving, caring people, might feel very isolated and alone in their struggles, in their challenges, in their own world, or even just, it could be small things too. And having a circle of men to sit down with each week and just share and laugh and joke and be around, it's a godsend. It's a lifesaver, and definitely improves my life
Oh yeah.
all the time.
Oh yeah, man. And you know, it's crazy that like when I get in there every week, it feels like it's a month since I've been there. Because you just like these guys, I have relationships with some of them outside the group, but like sometimes you just see these guys once a week, and it's just, I'm excited to see how it was for them, how their week was. Yeah. And just, get down to business for 3 hours.
Well, Bobby, I've thoroughly enjoyed this conversation.
Yeah, it was great.
Now you spend your life helping men, whether it's in our organization, leading your own group, but also as a counselor. So where can people find you if they want to connect with you and have a session with you, or even just reach out and connect?
Well, my website we'll put on, I guess, on this here.
BobbyHakkarainen.com.
EIN.ca. And there's also a link there if anybody's interested in booking a discovery call for free and just have a chat. And if you'd like to work with me at all, that's a possibility too. Taking a sabbatical from social media, but maybe one day I'll be on there.
All right. Thank you, Bobby. I love you, brother.
I love you too, man. Thanks a lot.
Yeah.
Thanks, everybody.